human rights litigation is like a war. It's a war between the rich and the poor, those who dominate and those who are dominated, those who exploit and those who are exploited. And when a human rights lawyer gets in, she may not have a gun or a sword or a rocket or a missile, but she has her law books and she has a mind. And she has a great, big, passionate heart.
Being able to connect with students and lawyers, junior lawyers and more senior lawyers around the world, particularly here in Berlin, it's extraordinary.
And I feel that, sure, there's going to be doubts. You're not going to win every case. You're not going to be able to help every community. But you have to try. And I'd rather fail in this than to succeed in something that totally doesn't matter. It's about what is your purpose in life. And I feel this is my purpose. This is her purpose. A lot of people's purpose is to be here and to do something. So
this mysterious legal language that is sort of inaccessible to you as an activist on the street, or seems inaccessible. I thought maybe, if I can understand that a bit better, then maybe that will actually make me a more effective activist or more effective in my solidarity.
Mis abuelos y mis padres me contaban cuando yo era niño, pues, de todos los horrores que habían padecido, el desplazamiento forzado, la gente, familias enteras masacradas. Muchos de mis compañeros incluso abandonaron su carrera de derecho para vincularse a las guerrillas. Mm-hmm. Todos terminaron luego muy rápidamente muertos. Pero pues yo rechacé el camino de la violencia y pensé que la opción más viable para Colombia era tener una democracia que respetara los derechos humanos y que abriera caminos hacia la paz.
Well, they're human rights lawyers, and the question is, what does that mean? Does it mean that if there's someone tortured, that they will, no matter what, say that that's the case we have to do? It doesn't mean that. Sure, that's a human rights violation. But I think I look at human rights in a context of what's really happening in this situation, who's oppressing who, and certainly my goal is to try and defend the weak party.
You have to love justice more than you love the law. And because if you love justice and if you have a clear vision of what justice looks like, the law becomes the tool towards justice. This is where radical lawyers are born, in the space between what the law says and what justice means.
What kind of lawyers? Lawyers who don't sit behind a table and say, okay, clients come to me. Not that kind of lawyer, but a lawyer who's a combatant. A lawyer who's an instigator, a fermenter of trouble.
And this is a challenge you should take. You should always try to bring it together. One is not working without the others. Like, activism has to go with lawyerism, and as much as it's possible, you should combine it.
Because ultimately, it was the free press, journalists who brought these stories to the public, they analyzed it, they decided where the line should be drawn, and critically, it was lawyers. Groups like ECCHR, groups like the ACLU, like the EFF, like Privacy International, all of these groups around the world who took these revelations, who took these disclosures, and converted that into the kind of legal action that doesn't just scoop government, but actually changes their behavior. We have a safer, more secure, more just, and more fair world. And that can't be done without the work you're doing.
This wall that used to separate the German people has now fallen down.
اجتياز عجبتني لحظة اجتياز امرأة للجدار هذا بعد تدميره، قامت بتمزيع البطاقتين الهوية المختلفات كانت بين ألمانيا الشرقية وبين ألمانيا الغربية. في غزة إن شاء الله في الضفة الغربية إنه تصير هذه اللحظة بإذن الله، فلسطين كلها وفي القدس الشرقي، لا وضع كلمة واحدة، يجب أن يزال هذا الجدار ويجب أن يتم سيادة القانون وليس سيادة الغاب المتواجدة الآن في معظم أنحاء العالم يمكن كمان.
Si nous sommes là, il faudrait que l'Europe assume Parce que si on est quitté chez nous, on n'est pas quitté parce qu'on voulait, mais c'est toujours ce capitalisme, ces multinationales qui sont dans nos pays, qui s'harmonisent à nous déstabiliser et tirer de l'énergie, tirer des matières premières, tirer la richesse de l'Afrique aujourd'hui et que nous soyons appauvris et qu'on nous laisse dans cet état. Mais non, on dit non. On dit non à ce système capitaliste.
One thing is to point out to human rights violations in the global south and call them wild and barbaric. And the other thing is to look at ourselves, the Western and the European countries who have been historically responsible for huge crimes through the colonialism in Germany for the First and the Second World War. And still the Europeans think they are superior. They are morally, politically, and in every other sense superior. So our legal fight is also a struggle against this feeling and this attitude of feeling superior.
Genau, die europäischen Unternehmen halt in Europa zur Verantwortung zu ziehen und damit halt auch der europäischen Öffentlichkeit zu zeigen, dass wenn wir die Nutznießer in dieses System sind, dass wir dann auch dafür sorgen müssen, dass das so passiert, dass wir das verantworten können. Und so wie es im Moment passiert, können wir beide das, glaube ich, nicht verantworten eigentlich mit unserem Gewissen. Also es ist für mich überhaupt nicht schwer zu verstehen, dass ich Unternehmen zur Verantwortung ziehen muss.
El tema es que cuando se lucha por la dignidad del ser humano en cualquier lugar del planeta, pues si logramos que hagan estados democráticos, decentes, en el sur pues la gente no va a querer migrar hacia el norte porque va a querer quedarse en sus países.
Mais ce que j'aimerais particulièrement dire aux avocats qui sont conscients que nous sommes là, nous souffrons, et si réellement ils veulent faire quelque chose dans cette lutte, qu'ils le fassent, pas parce qu'ils réclament un gain, mais qu'ils le fassent dans la nature de la douleur que nous ressentons.
You know, we're an army of mosquitoes. We're an army of mosquitoes trying to attack a big bully and give him malaria. You know, and very often in our countries, in the developing countries, they can just do that. Our lives are so tenuous. The life of a human rights activist is so tenuous.
And of course, human rights can be manipulated, as we see all the time. The U.S. and other countries in the world use it to go to war with countries. They say this country is violating human rights, an excuse for a humanitarian, quote, intervention. But in fact, as we've seen, those interventions result in greater and greater injuries to more and more people. So I think you have to look at human rights in a political context.
For us, it's very important that we challenge double standards in international law and in international criminal law, especially by writing, by talking, by trying to influence the discourse within the legal community, but we do this also through our cases.
And the network that we're pulling together, and it's geared towards young lawyers with that amazing energy. I met so many ECCHR interns and young lawyers today, and they've got the big eyes and they're ready to go.
Hay un movimiento global que está intentando hacer un aporte frente al despojo y la violencia globalizada. Entonces nuestra respuesta tiene que empezarse a construir también desde una perspectiva global y desde una perspectiva basada en lo que buscamos en la defensa de los derechos humanos, que es básicamente la dignidad de todos y de todas.